Hey people, Shaman Hawk here for Shamanic Lodge. I want to go ahead and mention some things. First off, for my friends in Germany, people who have attended my classes, lectures, workshops, people I had private appointments, people have been asking me, hey, since you can't come back to Germany for a while, all the travel restrictions, all this other stuff, is there anybody else we can work with? And so I want to say that yes, actually, Walter, who had the shamanic school that I was working from in Dusseldorf, I mean, he finished his training. I mean, he's a full ranking shaman. You guys can go see him. As a matter of fact, and people were asking, like, well, when people finish their apprenticeship, what's their specialty? Because everybody has something that's specialized at, that is that final touch of their shamanic training. Walters is basically what we say holding the space, if I was going to translate it into English. And I know in the whole New Age scene, it doesn't sound like much, but it really is when you look behind the scenes. And let me give a description of, like I said, looking behind the scenes, because if you look at the face of an old style watch or clock, you basically just see the hour hand, the minute hand, the second hand. You don't see all the gears that are turning in perfect motion behind that. The person that can truly hold the space is the one that designs all those gears and has that set in that perfect harmony. For the people that walk in the door of the venue, they just see the face of the clock. So it's really important in holding the space, not just the design and assembly of that venue, which you hold your classes, lectures, workshop, healing circles. It's about the maintenance behind that. That's the real essence of holding the space. So as those gears behind the face of the clock are turning in this perfect motion, it doesn't take much to interrupt that. You know, a grain of sand, a couple pieces of dust, and that clock stops. Or if nothing else, at least slows down. Time itself does not. Time still keeps on moving. I know you people argue sometimes that no such thing as time. Yeah, another video. But the time keeps moving. The clock is just a reflection or an instrument used to reflect that. The venue that people go to for their spiritual workshops and training and cleansings, healings, that's just a representation of the energy flow. Holding the space correctly, in a full picture of the bigger picture, is the person that can do all the maintenance required to keep that venue, that ceremonial site, as that fine-tuned equipment capable of doing the work that's expected to be done there. You can have great practitioners, great shamans come into a venue of which they don't even understand the concept of holding the space, much less doing anything about that. And I've refused to speak at places and had workshops at places, excuse me, hay dust, because that maintenance, that energy signature of a place. So people would talk to me online, and I get to a place and go, no, I'm not doing this unless we rework some energies here or we shift this around somehow. And of course, they don't get it, because they haven't had the training to do that. They didn't, their perspective or their consciousness isn't deep enough to be able to pick these things up. And so the history behind Walter's place was, he had that for a few years before I even got there. And we worked a strong 3 years out of that. And, the shaman Orshi, Oshoya, or shamanic woman, if you see her on Instagram, she finished her apprenticeship at Walter's place. Lisa Glesvai, Healers of Earth, she pretty much started her training there. So a lot has happened to that place. And like all things, it closes, right after I left in the winter of 2019, this whole scamdemic, plandemic hit. And Walter's venue, had to close down. And so it goes. But in the time there, Walter did such an excellent job of the holding the space, doing all the energetic manipulations, the corrections, the cleansings, to be done, and to hold a power spot like that. It wasn't just a venue. It was a power spot. One of the things that was really cool that you can look at is we had, we call the master teacher, the master of presence that would come by during the healing circle. Everybody could feel him. It was just a wonderful energy. Some people communicated with them. But these were these other entities and consciousness would come through there because that space was so well run. Walter himself, I mean, he translated with me, or translated for me, I'm sorry, as I gave readings, as I worked with private clients. He has watched hundreds of readings, and then he developed his own style of rune stones, the rocks that were collected from, the Rhine right there in Dusseldorf. So his intuition was great. One time we had this healing circle, and he just had this feeling to do a drumming over a guy that was still not quite the results that he was looking for, and not quite the results I was hoping he would have. And Walter came to me and just said, I just got the feeling just to drum over this guy. I'm like, do it. And he did, and that was just that one final touch that that guy needed to just beam and radiate with this really good energy. And those are the little things. And you have to be really true to your core. You have to be centered in your own alignment of personal truth to be able to get those kinds of feelings and be able to work with that. Karina Kindle was another one that worked out of there as an excellent medium. But all of these, we all of us owe a big thank you, for Walter for being that good shamanic practitioner who became that full ranking shaman to be able to hold that space for all of us and all the work that did there. We had so many healing circles out of that place. It was just like awesome. For those of you that, have a little leery about shamanism in general, I know there's a lot of new age meanings out there and definitions. Not many people really know shamanism and its truth. Walter's also a Reiki master. Walter has showed himself to be very proficient in his energy healing work. So, I mean, I could go on. I mean, he's a great man, one of the most ethical people that I've ever worked with throughout my shamanic career. So I'm going to ask you guys to look up Walter Spiegl. You find him on Facebook, you find him on Instagram, and I don't know what else to tell you, but check him out. The other thing is also for you people that are academics in the business world, insurance is Walter's career field. But it was really nice there in working with him because we had different professors, doctors, lawyers, high-end business people, lots and lots of academics from local universities come in there, enjoy the healing circles, and also with my personal appointments that I work with them. So for those of you who look at shamanism or any of the metaphysical things, just kind of like new age foo-foo stuff, Walter is the type of person you should talk to because he's in your arena, in your environment, as a businessman, as a well-educated man. And so he can give it to you in a perspective that for just everybody, and at that social level can accept. And that's about it. Okay. There is another shaman out there, Torsten Hardy's, that I worked with for years, went through an apprenticeship. But if you guys hear about him, yes, you can trust him too. But he's pretty much busy being a dad with small children and being a husband and all that. And sometimes all of us in the shamanic field take a break from it. And we have to go participate in everyday life, especially when our children are young. Walter is not in that he's available almost all the time. And by the way, too, his wife, has battled cancer twice in her life and survived. And when I was talking to Walter about that this morning, his birthday morning, he was talking, he goes, yeah, it really does boil down into the person, not so much the technique, but how available you really are to be able to care, to unconditionally love someone. And we both really believe that that's what's gotten his wife through these episodes. And to be, somebody that's still living, and what I would call a nice quality style of life is just because of the energy that he gives to her just as a loving husband. He shares that same kind of energy to people when we did the healing circles. People always felt really good around him. So also from my friends in Germany, I think we're all pretty clear that you guys, as with many people, could have a difficult winter. There's a lot happening in the European theater at this time, and a lot of people are asking why, what's next, what's the meaning. If everything likes to happen for a reason, what's the reason for all of this? I think by contacting him, especially people in Germany, because I think you're going to be at the heart of a lot of this. I think that he might be able to help you see things in a way that you guys can really relate and help pull the communities together, and get through, whatever's coming down into the very near future. All right, guys. Catch you guys later.